There's always a huge discussion about these carriers, and before we start, one of the ones that kept cropping up all the time, the question that people always say is, well, if it wasn't safe, it wouldn't be on sale. And all I have to say to that is alcohol, cigarettes, cop bumpers, blind cords, dummy clips. Those are just 5 examples of things that are unsafe that are still on sale for children. I hope you enjoy the vlog, and I hope you make an informed decision about the carriers that you use. This isn't a mum shaming vlog, this is just a mum educating vlog. I see these type of carriers used all the time, and most people aren't aware at all that they're unsafe for their babies. It often also leads to an uncomfortable baby wearing journey, which means people tend to actually put their kids in carriers less when they're using these because they're uncomfortable as well as being unsafe. In some cases there have been, I have to be careful what I say because there are certain brands that have been involved within this, but in some cases narrow base carriers have caused deaths among children because they've suffocated in them where they haven't been used properly, and it used to be that manufacturer's instructions weren't very good either. So that has happened. So first of all, I'm going to show you what a narrow base carrier is. Now I want to show you a narrow base carrier against the ergonomic carrier. The second one looks much comfier, doesn't it? And believe me, it is not only for you but for your baby. In the first one you can see the legs are like wedged into the carrier. In the second picture you can see that the legs go across like this and they come down just like they would if they were straddled over a chair, or if you were to piggyback them. And that's why piggybacking is actually, believe it or not, quite comfortable compared to if you had their legs obviously straight down on you. It would be really uncomfortable. So when you think about it like that, it would make more sense to have them in the natural M position with their bums like this. So now I'm going to go through ticks as well because it doesn't stop there. Ticks are that if you're using a carrier for your baby, they should be tight, they should be in view, they should have their chins off their chest to stop them suffocating. So if you've got a young baby, you shouldn't actually have them upright in a narrow base carrier because their chins tend to flop where they don't have the head control. They should be kissable, so it means that when they're in the carrier, their head should be actually about here, and in most narrow base carriers they're somewhere towards your breast and your stomach, which means they're not kissable, which means they're not actually safe. When they're kissable, it also means that you can tell whether they're breathing or not, and it's easy to check whether they're breathing. They should also have a supported back, which again narrow base carriers don't support, so their back is forced upright in a narrow base carrier, which it shouldn't be. You'll find that in more ergonomic carriers, it means that their back can curl in, just like they would as if they were in your tummy, and as they get older, it begins to promote natural back shape and better posture as well. Narrow base carriers, as I said, don't meet TICS guidelines, and last year there was a massive turnaround. So the biggest narrow base carrier company, whose name I can't say, did a complete U-turn on their carriers. They had to finally admit that they didn't meet TICS guidelines, and they also had to admit that they were actually quite unsafe. And when you're dealing with a carrier that's £65 to buy, they have to make them safe. They have to improve upon them. So what they did is they didn't take the carrier off sale because it is such a high-end, high-rated carrier. They refused to do it, knowing that their carrier was unsafe. However, what they did do is they brought out a much less known ergonomic version, but it's a move in the right direction. Now on to forward facing. So firstly, you can get narrow base carriers that say don't forward face, and you can actually also get ergonomic carriers such as the Ergo, which say it's absolutely fine to forward face as long as it's only for 20 minutes and your baby doesn't fall asleep. The guidelines vary on this. But one thing that we all know is that forward facing can be extremely unsafe for them. So you will notice with Ronny, despite the fact he is 18 months, he is always on my hip, on my tummy, or on my back. This is partly because when they forward face, they're pretty uncomfortable. Their weight is bearing down on you, so it makes it really, really difficult to actually carry them, and it's actually more comfy on my back. But he's also not done like that because I honestly believe it's dangerous. So as I said before, there were a couple of instances with certain carriers where babies suffocated, and one of the reasons they suffocated is the chin on the chest problem. So when you forward face them, what happens is if they fall asleep or they start to doze off, their head goes like this. Depending on the age, they can suffocate. There have been babies where some of them have like these little belt things that you can attach, so it forces your baby's head upright, and it's actually damaged parts of their neck where they've been asleep, and the carrier has forced them up like this. Forward facing, I always don't recommend. Put them on your hips. So many carriers encourage hip carries, and they're really, really good to do. And they also help with your baby supporting their back. So again, with forward facing, you're not supporting their back because their back is up straight against your stomach, which isn't the natural position that they should be in. I hope you guys can now make a really informed choice about the carriers that you use. One myth that I want to dispel before we go is that narrow-base carriers are cheaper than your ergonomic carrier, which is safer, which is actually untrue. Most of them retail well under £40 of the top selling carrier, and the top selling carrier is actually mid-range for price. So you can pick up a My Tie, for example, which is great for a newborn, for £25. You can pick up Hop Ties, which are really easy to use. Lily Baby, if you did want a forward face for those 20 minutes, because that's usually the rules and not let them fall asleep, Lily Baby is actually fantastic, and it does promote some of the supported back, etc. Moby wrap, if you've got a really young baby, stretchy wraps are really, really, really easy to use. Or if you're a bit adventurous like me, you can go on to woven wraps, and they start from around £35. You can probably pick up a few for 20, and that is for probably a more experienced baby wearer once you've kind of got past the Moby wrap stage, etc. And you can also get ring slings, which I hear from a lot of people among the community and among my sites and stuff, that they find their ring sling really, really helpful for quick up and downs. And you could actually pick up a ring sling. I think I bought one when we first started baby wearing for about £15, and we still have it now. It's absolutely brilliant. Don't forget to like and share, because it's really important to me these carriers aren't used anymore. People should know what they're putting their babies in if the companies themselves just aren't willing to tell people, and they're not willing to promote TICS guidelines and safe baby wearing. It also makes for a much better baby wearing journey, which means there's going to be lots more babies out there, much more comfortable mummies and daddies in much better carriers, and they're going to be saving a few pounds too.